Hey guys, Lizardlea here for day 2 of Hope. So there is the progress from day 1. Oh my gosh, I just remembered I need to take my nail polish off. I might finish today, I might not. We'll see.
Alright, so we watched Sandman, including the
11th.
special 11th episode, and oh my god, that show was so awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god. Oh wait, did we talk about Sandman and just not the final extra episode? We've talked about Sandman with so many people, with John and your mom. Now I'm like, have we talked about it with my people? I don't know. You're the one who's supposed to track this.
According to the tracking, we have not.
Okay, so then we're going to talk about everything.
Okay.
And if it's a repeat, well, David sucks at his job.
And if it's not, I'm good at my job.
Not always. You didn't remember to put down Jumper, so...
I literally just added it last night, but okay.
Yeah, okay, then why were you typing after you said Jumper?
I added it to the main list, now I was adding it to your list.
My list.
The list of what we discussed versus the list of
We
what we
haven't
watched.
discussed Jumper yet. You should not put it on discussed.
I'm not saying we've discussed it. I'm saying the list to discuss and discuss. It tracks all of it.
Uh-huh.
Today's video is about how I organize lists.
Alright, so you've read the comics for Sandman, and I have not.
So Sandman, first of all, while a comic and while technically taking place in the DC universe, was created, to my understanding, completely by Neil Gaiman. Gaiman. Gaiman is noteworthy for having done American Gods, which is a show/book I recommend. Well, the first season of the show. The book is actually good. He did
Good
Stardust.
Omens with Terry Pratchett.
Good Omens with Terry Pratchett, yeah, and Stardust. So those are the
Stardust.
big ones
That
I know.
Movie is a 12 out of 10. If you have not seen Stardust, you are doing yourself a disservice. Like, that one is up there with Pride and Prejudice for me.
And I would say that Gaiman's style is modern fairy tale / folklore writer. That's kind of his style. More modern versions of those kinds of tales. So comics is a good medium for him, and he created this character called Sandman, who is the embodiment of dreams, and he is the lord of all of the dreaming. There are various other lords. They all start with D. There's the Lord of Dreams, the Lord of Death, the Lord of Desire, Despair,
Destruction,
and
Death. Did we already say Death? We probably already said
yeah.
Death.
So
There's like, what, 7 of them? Is that what it is?
something like that.
6 or 7?
So he is a big deal. And the story starts...
Did he do Ragnarok? Is that what?
No.
I feel like there was... Who did Ragnarok?
Thor Ragnarok?
Yeah.
Takeshi I can't ever say
Oh,
it. Yeah.
White...
I can't ever do
White
his name.
tea. Yeah, okay.
I always forget how to pronounce his name, but yeah. No, he's not... He likes the word Ragnarok because he writes a lot of Greek... Or not
Okay,
Greek,
that's why I was thinking of Ragnarok.
God, what is it?
Then.
Viking, no?
Norse.
Norse, thank you, mythology. So, anyways, as the Lord of Dreams, he is incredibly powerful, and he goes down one day to deal with a nightmare who's running rampant called the Corinthian. Because nightmares are only supposed to be in people's dreams to make them better. This one has escaped to the real world and is actually killing people. And he is most noteworthy in that he wears these dark sunglasses because when he takes them off, instead of having eyes, he has more teeth. Like literal little mouths in each eye.
Sometimes it looks creepy, sometimes it looks funny.
Yes.
Just saying.
Either way, while doing this, it turns out there's a man who's trying to wish for his... He's a powerful warlock, and he's acquired a book to summon various creatures of that kind of power, and he wants to wish for his older son back to life, because his son died young in a war, and he misses him, and he hates his current son. And so he does this ritual with the intent of summoning death and then holding them captive until they bring back his son. Instead, he captures...
Dream.
Yeah, Dream, the Sandman. And...
While he is knocked out, the warlock grabs his mask, his bag of dust.
Bag of sand.
His bag of sand. And, yeah, that makes more
His
sense.
ruby.
Sand. And his ruby necklace, yes.
Yes. So, and all of his clothes. So.
And the son is watching this.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's not creepy. Like, I didn't think it was scary. But if I were, like, a 6 to 10-year-old, it would have been absolutely terrifying. And so there is a side character that grabs the son and pulls him back and, like, tries to, like, keep him from this. And I was like, that's what the father should be doing right now. So, like, it just really just pounds it home that this man does not care about the remaining son that he has. He only cares about the son that he lost. Sorry, continue.
Yes. So, point being, while he's there, trapped, the guy basically says, "Are you death? Are you this?" And he figures out that he hasn't captured death and that it's dreams somehow. But he also realizes that he can't bring his son back. Dream refuses to speak to the man. He literally will not open his mouth. He does not say anything. At some point, I think the Corinthian shows up and tells him, "Oh, you've captured him. You're going to need to do this, 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 and this."
Yeah,
to keep
put him
back."
in, like, a glass box or something.
Yeah, a glass bubble, like its own little fish jar. And
you have to make sure your people never fall asleep near him.
Mm-hmm. So that's where the story kicks off. 1 second. The Sandman is trapped, and because of this, the human world is falling apart. Well, not falling apart, but bad things are happening because he's the Lord of Dreams. Like, people are falling asleep and not waking up, or other people can't sleep no matter what. But it's not everybody, it's just some people. And so that's the main plot of the story. I don't know how to talk much more about it without spoiling things, though.
Well, very early on you learn there's a black girl named Unique that has fallen asleep and has not woken up. I don't remember how she was attached to the original house.
She's not.
Not at all?
No, she's just somewhere
Did you
else.
just see her in the newspaper and somebody was
In
like...
one of those clips.
Oh, okay, that's what it was. Because I was like, I do remember them pointing her out and being like, yeah, this little girl fell asleep and hasn't woken up.
Yeah.
Maybe she was like the first one that people...
No.
No? Like, publicized about? I don't know.
No. It happened to a bunch of people at once, so...
Well, they pointed her out in particular, so...
Mm-hmm. So anyways, suffice to say, the show is very creative, beautifully shot, and sticks really close to the source material, which makes it very good. Because the source material is very good, because, what do you know, a real writer wrote it. Not that comic book writers are bad, it's just that when you have someone write something this good, there's often the case of publishers trying to meddle and whatnot.
Oh, absolutely.
And thankfully that does not seem to be the case with this. So, before we spoil the ever-loving heck out of it, I would highly recommend it. It is disturbing and violent at times, as a content warning. It's not... Yeah, it's not for kids.
Yeah, especially the 11th episode. Like,
Well, that one too.
The 11th episode, I do kind of want to talk more about when we get to it, because that one, more than a lot of the other ones, I would say, like, be careful before you watch this one, because it made me upset.
I think the diner episode is probably, for most people, way worse.
See, gore doesn't bother me. This is the problem.
Yeah, that's why I'm telling normal people out there that...
Well, I mean, there are all kinds of triggers out there, honey.
And they're all in that diner episode, just about.
Animal death isn't in that one.
I said almost.
Mm.
So my point being... Anyways. It's a good show, and you should watch it. So with that out of the way, we're going to have to spoil the heck out of it, because it's incredibly hard to discuss without spoiling, because the first thing you need to know is that being a sort of modern fairy tale writer, the entire season is not about one arc. The whole Sandman escapes and gets his power back is the first half of the show, because that's the first arc. And then there's a couple of little mini arcs, and then there's a second arc that he goes through. And should they adapt more of it and get a season 2, which I suspect they will, there's several other mini standalone stories they could do, and I think a couple of other major arcs they could do. So, surprise, Sandman does not spend the entire season trying to escape. He has escaped and back to his full power, I think halfway through the show? Maybe a little bit earlier?
He was, captured by them for over 100 years, though.
Yes.
It's like 110, 112. It was a lot. He was in there for a very, very, very long time.
So he spends 100-some years in there before the son of the man who trapped him finally...
No. It's the husband.
The husband of the son, yeah. Well, I was going to say is finally making one more plea with him.
Oh, yeah, and then Sandman does not respond, so he's just like, meh. And then the husband wheels the wheelchair over the paint to mess it up.
Yeah.
And then, let's see, what was it? The father comes home, and, no, wait. They put okay, he kills his dad by bashing his head into the glass, but that doesn't crack it or anything.
Mm-hmm.
So he's dead. And then it's when they're old, he... Was that enough, or did they have to crack it?
No.
Oh, he made one of the guards fall asleep,
Yes.
and one of them, he had them shoot it.
Yes.
Okay, that's
and
what
so
it
he
was.
gets free. He forces the son who imprisoned him to sleep forever.
You know, the, 5 more years he had left at that point.
Possibly, yeah. Or maybe he keeps him alive, who knows.
Maybe.
But he, from there, goes out and he needs to get his stuff back because he had imparted portions of his power in the mask, the ruby, and the sand. So he starts going to look for those. He comes back to his realm, it's all destroyed. We meet the librarian lady there who's taken over in his stead. I forget her name off the top of my head, though.
I love
she
her.
was really good.
Literally everyone on this show, spectacular.
The main thing is that most of the dreams have kind of left and the whole kingdom has fallen apart. So he's basically got to rebuild everything he ever had and bring balance back to society. So as he's doing this, he goes and sees the Fates, and they tell him, Lucian, yeah. And they answer 3 questions for him, and as always, they ask the wrong questions and then try to ask more, and the Fates are like, do you not know how this works?
Oh, it was so funny! Every single one. They'd answer his question, and he'd ask a follow-up, and they're like, no! And I was like, yeah, but I get where he's coming from, of yeah, this is the next question I want to ask.
So, they tell him where his stuff is, sort of.
His mask is with a demon in hell.
Yes.
His necklace is with...
It was traded for a Amulet of Protection to a demon.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
And his sand is with... Not a magician, but... I don't remember.
I legit don't remember where his sand is, but...
I know it was with the descendant of...
Oh, Joe Constantine.
Constantine, there we go.
So, point being, all of these items are scattered because before he could escape, someone stole all of those items from the man who imprisoned him. And that girl also had a child with the horrible man who imprisoned him.
Yep.
And then fled. And so she's been fleeing ever since. So she traded the items for power and whatnot to protect herself and her kid, as you will find out way later.
Yep.
So first he goes and he meets up with Constantine, not the Constantine most people know, but this is a later Constantine she's a girl, and she's pretty much like Constantine. So if you've watched the Keanu Reeves movie, which I highly recommend, it ages really well.
Dude, that movie's so
could have been
good.
made yesterday. You know how she is. So she's a rather difficult human.
And she has a lot of power.
She's also bi, I think. Yeah, she's the first one.
Definitely a lesbian at the very least.
Yeah.
But yeah, one of her exes was a man, so she's bi. Yeah.
So, whatever. But,
I googled it, and apparently the normal Constantine everyone's used to is also bi.
Yeah. So, they go through everything, and it's the usual, give me what I want, no, I don't have it, or no, screw you, or blah, 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 blah. And eventually he does a favor for her, doesn't he? Like, there was some sort of kid who needs help or something, and he does something for them, and then she gives him the sand. I really don't remember the specifics.
A girl that she's living with, or something like that, ends up walking in on her trying to, essentially send a demon back to hell. I don't know the correct term. I feel
Exorcise.
Exorcise, thank you. And so she's distracted, so the girl gets sucked in.
Oh, yeah.
Does she get sucked in too? And then she fixes it? I don't remember exactly how that went down. But the girl, I'm pretty sure the girl came back.
Mm-hmm.
Or did she die? I don't know. She was not ultimately very
Long
important.
story short, obviously...
Well, then she has to go to a church, and she's supposed to exorcise the Princess of England.
Right.
And that's when we learn, oh no, the person who's possessed is her future husband. And hey, this is great, because oftentimes when you have to exorcise a demon, the person holding that demon dies.
Mm-hmm.
And killing the Princess of England is gonna be a problem.
Yep.
Killing her potential boyfriend, potential husband, that's fine. And he dies. I remember that. He definitely died.
He dies quite hard, yes.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so the point being that after all this is done, he gets back his bag of sand. And that's his first tool returned to him. So next, he goes to hell. Because he knows that there's a demon down there who has his helmet, and he needs his helmet back. So he travels to hell on his own with a crow named Patton Oswalt. Yes, because they kill an animal in the first episode.
Yeah, the son shot the original one, and I was so upset about it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm just saying, if I were that son, I would stay outside, and if somebody was like, how'd the bird get inside? I'd be like, what? I didn't see it. What are you talking about? Like, I'm not a great actress, but, like, I can act if it's in service of an animal.
Not that I think what he did is great, but at the same time, he has the kind of father who, whether it was his fault or not, would have beat him for it.
It's true.
So, either way, they go to hell, because that's where the item is, and there's sort of laying groundwork for some future plots, like his first lover and all this other stuff, but future plots is in, like, season 2, if it happens. And then he goes...
Meets Lucifer!
Yeah, he finds the demon. Well, he meets Lucifer first, and Lucifer is played by the woman who played Brienne of Tarth. And I think she did a good job.
She did a good job. I just, like, the way she looks doesn't match my idea of everything I've ever looked up for Lucifer. So it was
an interesting stylistic choice, but I still think it worked. But it doesn't really matter, because either way, they go back and forth on... oh, what are you going to do? Blah, blah, blah. Where's the demon? Bring me the demon. So, of course, she brings every demon.
And then she's like, who has the helmet?
Yep.
And then he steps forward and he's like, I have it.
Yeah. And so he goes, okay, well, I challenge you because that's the rule is you have to, like, challenge them. And he goes, okay, well, I want to who's your champion? And Dream says, I'll be my champion. And then the demon says, okay, my champion will be Lucifer. Which they very explicitly, earlier on in the show, he explained that, yeah, Lucifer is more powerful than him, by far. Being a fallen angel, as opposed to him just being a... Endless, yeah, is what they're called. So, they play the game of, change or something? It's where they, I am a wolf, and then I am a snake, I bite the wolf. Okay, well then I'm a bird, I eat the snake. It's literally Sorcerer's Stone, that Disney movie or whatever, but more artsy about it. Or the Wizard's Duel in...
Sword in the Stone?
Sword in the Stone, maybe? Yeah.
Yes, with Madame Mim.
Yeah, that one.
Yes, and then what was it? She became a dragon, he became a disease? Or she became a disease?
He became a disease.
It was ridiculous.
And she became a dragon.
I loved it. Yeah, that's what I said at first.
Yeah. I was just...
And then I was like, wait, do I have that backwards?
Yeah. So anyways, they go through a similar but more artsy thing, which is a little... It was very pretty, but it was also... It's a little hokey. And
it was kind of ridiculous.
It was hokey in the comic, too.
Done now.
Yeah.
Just say it and be done. I don't need to see the visual. I get it.
Yeah. So he wins, and Lucifer is, needless to say, not happy about this.
Now, he gets his helmet, but then, Satan's just like, yeah, no, you've disgraced me. How dare you?
In front of all of my people. What makes you think I'll let you leave? And then they let him leave because it has to for the plot. But short version, it's made more clear in the comic. Lucifer is very, very, very upset, and in the comic vows revenge forever.
Well, yeah, at the end of the show, that's when Lucifer does that.
Yeah. Well, no, they...
Yeah, Lucifer's like, I'm gonna get you back for that.
That's a different part, but I know what you mean, but it's not what I mean. So, you'll see. Anyways, So from there comes the ruby, and the ruby was traded to a demon for the mask was traded for a demon for the Amulet of Protection, and the ruby was kept by the woman who...
She gave it to her son.
Yeah, and she gives it to her son, because her son stole it from her.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
So she
it
has her
amulet... answer any of your wishes.
Yeah, well,
dreams or something
no. It makes dreams reality.
That's what it was, okay.
But, so... She's going to her son, who is an adult, and he's in this kind of mental institution. And we've seen her wearing the Amulet of Protection, and like if you try to attack her in any way, shape, or form, that thing...
You literally blip out of existence.
You don't blip, you pop. It's a mess.
There's a lot of gore.
Yeah.
It happened to the Corinthian. It was great.
Yeah. So, she cannot be hurt. She's trying to give her son the thing, and she's like, look, take this, and I'll take the ruby... and we'll all be okay, blah, 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 blah. And it goes back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Long story short, surprise, he winds up with the ruby. Is she dead? Did she leave? Did she just...
The mom?
Yeah.
Yeah, she gives him the Amulet of Protection.
Oh, she dies!
And literally ages to death.
Right, because it's kept her young, too. I forgot. You can't age.
Yeah, she's hundreds of years old. Or, well, no, not hundreds, but she's over 100 years old at this point and looks pretty good.
Yeah, and the point to make here is that her son hates lying, because she's always lied to him. And now she was doing that to protect him because she was fleeing from a very evil man who she stole very powerful objects from, which means that there's a creature and a man after her that are both incredibly powerful and dangerous, so she's always lied to her kid. And he's sitting in a mental institution because she's like, people died the last time you had the ruby, and he hid it. And he's like, well, blah, 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 blah. And so they finally have an honest conversation where she tells him all the truth. And so she says, look, to show you that I'm serious... take my amulet, I want you to be safe, and then she dies. And he goes, okay. So he tries to leave, and of course people try to stop him, and they pop. And he goes, okay, I need to go get the amulet. And it's a very interesting bit, because you're not sure how unhinged this guy is the entire time, and it's why this is such a well-shot show and well-written story. Because here is our air quotes villain. And you're still not really sure if he's a villain, because he never... Now, granted, by the nature of the Amulet of Protection, you can't use it offensively, but he never tries to invoke someone hurting him. He says, please don't do that. If you attack me, it will kill you. He always tells people, don't do that. And he is generally kind of chill about it. So he gets in a car with a woman who gives him a lift, because he's like, oh, I need to go to this place.
And she's like, oh, that's on my way.
Yeah.
Hop on in.
So they chat, and she's a very nice lady, and they have a fairly nice conversation, but she starts to put together that something's not quite right. So
she learns that he's been in an institution basically his whole life.
Because people died.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's, again, very interesting, because it's kind of showing how paranoid she is when he's done nothing to her. To where she goes into a gas station and she tries to get them to call the police, and he tells the guy, okay, we need to go, and grabs the woman to go. Not like hard, but like, come on, let's leave. And the guy goes, well, no, you should stay here, and pulls a gun on him, and again he says, don't shoot me, and the guy shoots him, and the guy splatters all over the wall. And so...
And then they leave and get back in the car.
And now the woman's terrified of him, and he says, no, I'm not going to hurt you. Which you do find out he won't. He does not harm her. He, in fact, once he gets the ruby... gives her the Amulet of Protection, because he thinks she is a nice person.
Yep.
And I think that's really good writing in that he's a consistent character. He truly believes that the truth is the only thing that matters. He never lies, I believe, knowingly anyways, in the show.
One of the lines that I really liked, I don't remember exactly what he said, like he thinks people lie to protect themselves or something, and then she's like, I think some people lie because they're scared.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, you know what, you're right. That makes sense.
Which is because she's terrified at the moment of him, but yeah.
It is true, though. That is when some people will lie. Like, I've had creepy guys approach me, and yeah, I'll be like, oh, no, I'm married, or oh, no, I have to go now, bye.
Yeah.
Like...
And that's kind of the main point of the whole thing, is that he's consistent, and he has crazy beliefs, but he's also not... Well, he doesn't exactly have crazy beliefs. He has a very common belief, like, wouldn't everything be better if you just told the truth? And, he makes her tell the truth, and then things are better. Well, and that he, lets her go. He's like, okay, I'm not going to hurt you. Again, he's still very sinister and kind of menacing in a very passive way, but you can look at almost everything he does as a sort of, no harm is intended. But then comes the diner episode, which is my favorite episode and one of Liz's least favorites.
Yeah.
Because Dream and them are not in it. It's simply focusing on him arriving at a diner. And at this diner are other patrons. There's the nice waitress. There's the
married couple that she introduced 3 years ago. They're here on their anniversary.
I was going to get to them because they come in later, but I'm trying to remember who's there when he gets there.
There's a lesbian who's waiting for her girlfriend to show up.
No, she's trying to call her and hoping she shows up. I think that's what it was.
Okay.
Because she works there, but she's not there today or something.
Yeah,
and there's the chef in the back.
Yes.
Yeah, who's, a chef. So obviously throughout this, we see that the waitress is kind of flirting with the chef. Like she's clearly got a thing for him. We see that there's some tension between the group that she introduced, because one's a younger black guy and the other one's an older Asian woman, and she's like the CEO, and he's just some, guy who works for the CEO, or who's married to the CEO, so of course he's powerful now.
Yeah, and anytime he tries to work on a project or something, she'll be like, oh, I already answered that, and he's like, no, let me, stop.
Yeah. There's control issues there, and then also food issues, where like he wants to eat what he wants, but
she's like, oh no, we need to eat a salad.
Yeah, we have to be healthy. And then there's also the fact that she's suspicious of him because she thinks he's cheating on him. And there's all these little nuanced things you can pick up throughout this.
And then a white kid walks in.
Yeah.
And he is going to have an interview at the company that she is a CEO for.
Yes. And so he's freaking out, he's nervous, and the waitress is like, oh, I can introduce you. And he's like, no, I better not. I'd really rather not do that. I don't want to interrupt their lunch, and I don't think that'll end well. Like, that's a well-meaning thing, but the last thing you want to do is surprise interview with the CEO on lunch, And so the guy sits down in a corner, and, it's kind of funny because, like, she takes forever getting his order, and he doesn't get angry or anything, but he's just holding his ruby, which he claims to have modified, by the way. The idea
only he can use it.
Yeah, only he can use it.
And we did see Dream grab it, and it shockwaved him into the wall and knocked him out.
Later, but yes. Or was it at
this point? No, that was before.
Yeah, what?
He got there before, I don't know, Remus, whatever his name is. I know him from Harry Potter.
Yeah.
He was the wolf.
So either way, they basically, you start to see that they're kind of looping the scenario. And what he's doing is he's making them tell the truth, the 100% truth. And I'm going to spare details because, like, despite the disturbing content we talk about, this is a cross-stitching channel. And it's really interesting in all the really disturbing ways that things go south from there. As people are telling the truth. And it gets weirder and weirder and weirder, and it ends with mass suicide. Literally everyone in there killing each other or killing themselves. Murder and suicide. And his take on it is, oh, well, I, just showed them the truth. This is who they really are. And in the meantime, he's doing this to the entire country. Like, you're seeing the news in the background the whole time as, like, things get worse and worse. Power's going out, major storms, fire everywhere, car crashes, yada, yada, yada. So eventually, Dream shows up and is like, you need to stop all this. And the guy basically says, no, I can fix the world. I'm better than you. I'll become you. And he starts trying to pull Dream into the ruby. And in the end, he overloads the ruby and breaks it, which gives Dream back all of his power.
Oh, I thought Dream himself broke it.
No, he even says, I would never have thought to break the ruby.
Oh, you're right.
And so Dream goes, I'd forgotten how much power I'd put in that ruby. Now I have all my power back. It's not just in that stupid little symbol of me. And says, well, I'll make you sleep forever, or I don't remember what he does to him, but the guy, he doesn't leave him alone.
I think he makes him sleep forever?
Something like that. And
he puts him back in the insane asylum. I do remember that.
Yeah. And so from there, he points out that the reason these people killed themselves is because you took their dreams. It's not because you showed them the truth. It's because you took their hopes, basically. Like, oh, she dreamed of becoming a writer and being important, and he dreamed of being wanted, and she dreamed of being this, and, on and on and on. And when you take that from people, they will kill themselves because there's nothing to live for. So the interesting thing being that now that he's got his power back, they don't undo any of it. It all still happened. All these people died, all this horrible stuff happened, but the world can start rebuilding. And that's the end of the first arc, is Dream now has his power back, and we're pretty much good. There's some side stuff going on during all this. There's the episode that you love, which is, I believe, the very next episode, which is
The Sound of Her Wings.
The Sound of Her Wings, which I'm sure everyone has already heard about if they've heard about this at all. But do you want to explain that one? Since it's, I'm sure
you meet Death, and he's excited. Or well, not he doesn't really show many emotions, but like he sees her, and she's like, "Oh, brother, how are you?" And he's kind of like a little bitter at first, and she's like, "You think I didn't look for you? I tried to find you," and which broke my heart. And then he's like, "They were after you," and she's like, "I know." And so you're just like, "Oh, these two siblings, oh no." Oof.
I did always find that weird that she's like, "I couldn't find you, but I knew they were after me." Like, given how insanely powerful these creatures are, I feel like this should have been an easy solve, but whatever. It's not like it matters.
I mean, I kind of figured it was the painting and the glass orb he was in was just keeping her from being able to detect him.
Well, even if you can't detect him, you kind of can narrow down who the heck can do this, and it's not like it was a super big secret. Like the rest of the human world knew this guy maybe had the devil locked in his basement. That's what they all thought it was.
Really? I thought it was kind of secretive to that town.
No, other people talked about how he was a well-known warlock, and he rose up suddenly through the world, having been kind of useless for a while, and now he was suddenly a somebody again because he's got the devil trapped in his basement, and it wasn't super well known, but given that you are literally Death, I feel like you could have. I
mean, she's busy, okay?
Yeah.
Death was probably my favorite character on this show. That actress was amazing. Just perfection. I watched a video where it showed the comic going through the lines and then her actually doing them in real time. Absolutely amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And she was so sweet. She was like, I was really bitter and upset about being Death and, having to see the last moments of someone's life for so long. And then I realized they're there with me. I'm there with them. Neither of us is doing this alone. Oh my god, I'm gonna cry. It was so good. When you do Death as a kind person, I love it. I love it so much. It's so good. So yeah, we follow her. We see people die. We see her walk them off, including a child. It's not graphic at all. She walks off screen, and then you see the shadow of her wings and the sound, and then it's done. Mm-hmm. She walks back out without them. So, you might, be sad, but it's not anything like the previous episode. Oh, it was so good, though. I actually have tears in my eyes. Okay, that's all I've got.
So, of note, yeah, it's a very good episode. It's pretty much just kind of musings on death and, philosophy stuff, and also hey, you should get out of your slump dream and be a better person and blah, blah, or non-person, whatever you are, and chill. Because he's also known as being very cold and very unfeeling, even among the Endless, whereas Death is kind of a cheery woman, whereas Dream is the stick in the mud, all business, no fun, no mercy, no nothing, just
work, 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 work.
Which is kind of an interesting parallel to the villain he just defeated. And that, again, no intention to cause harm is there. It's just nothing personal, and yet it's a big point that his inhumanity is a major problem for his own realm and his own world later. So I think the next episode, or the episode after, is another of your favorites, where we meet Hob.
Oh yeah, when we go way back in time and Death and Dream are working together. I think it was.
They're meeting at a bar,
right? Yeah, they were meeting at a bar, and there's some guy boasting in the back I'm never gonna die. I'm gonna live forever. And Death is like, okay.
Well, not quite. Dream says, what a fool. If he could live forever, he'd be begging for death in 100 years or something. And so Dream goes, you want to take a bet? Or Death says, you want to make that a bet? And says, because Death's whole point is Dream is a dreary jerk and doesn't see... Whereas Death is trying to say, hey, you need to get to know humanity and life and the world. Dream is just, no, I do dreams and blah, 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 and these people suck and blah, 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 blah. And so she takes him up on his bet, saying, okay, I'll make that guy immortal, and you meet him here in 100 years. And he makes that offer to that guy, saying, hey, I'll meet you here in 100 years. And the guy's like, yeah, sure, okay, but he's kind of smiling about it. And the deal is that Dream has to meet him every 100 years at this bar, and then, talk with him, see what he thinks, and see what the guy wants. So you can take it from there if you want.
The first 100 years they meet up, and he's like, yeah, man, I don't know what you did to me, but this is cool. You know, he's happy about it. They meet up the next 100 years after that, and he's like, yeah, this was one of the worst years. Like, the last 100 years have just been... No. It was... The first 20 years were good, and then the last 80 years were just dreadful. They were horrible.
Everything's been awful.
I wanted to just, end it. And then Dream was like, oh, okay, so you want to die? And then Hop was like, no, I want to keep living. I want another 100 years.
Mm-hmm.
So there's another 100 years. Like, they meet up, and then at one point you see that dude owns the bar, right? And that's Dream shows up, and he's like, yeah, I'm great.
That's actually no, at the very end is when he owns it, but yeah, I get
Okay, well, they meet up a bunch of times. One point he is there waiting for Dream, and Dream doesn't show up.
Well,
no, wait, you know what, I lied. The one before this.
Yeah.
He's like, you're my friend. You know, like, he essentially says that they're friends. And Dream is like, no, we're not friends. What the heck is wrong with you?
Which, to just quickly put a point on that, because he knows what Dream is there for at this point, which is like this bet to see if humans ever want to die, if made immortal, or if life is worth living. And he says, look, at this point, I'm never going to want to die. Like, it's been 500 years or something.
Because we're friends.
Yeah, you enjoy, like, why show up again? You know, you could just let me be immortal, or you could let me die, but you keep showing up. And I think it's because we're friends. And then Dream gets really pissed and is like, we're not friends! And then
the next 100 years pops up, but that is when Dream is stuck in the basement.
Yeah.
So he's upset because he's like, oh man, I thought we were friends.
Because he says, I'll see you here in 100 years, and if so, that means we're friends. And so 100 years later, when Dream doesn't show, he goes, wow, he really meant it.
Yeah. But then, once Dream gets out, he shows up, and he gets to the building that it used to be, and it's been changed to, like, a gym or something?
No,
like,
it's closed. It's just condemned.
Oh, okay. Well, it is not there. But there is a written message on the wall next to it that says, what did they call it?
Friend here or something, or
well, no, like the club. It was the name of the place. New bar here.
Yeah.
Something like that. And then it's been named New Bar. And Dream walks in, and he's there, and, Dream's like, yeah, sorry I didn't show up. And he's like, I knew we were friends! Like, oh, it was so good. I want to rewatch this show, man. I just want to skip the creepy waitress episode.
Side note, Cain and Abel got a baby gargoyle.
Yeah, and they lost the previous one. It was so sad.
Mm-hmm. So, I think you will eventually get a reason for why, too. I remember
why what?
Why he had to do what he did there.
We already know he needed a little bit more power, and that gargoyle was created by Dream.
Yeah, I thought there was a bit more to it, though.
Oh, well, there might be, but that was the explanation the show gave us for now.
Sort of, kind of, yes, no. Anyways, so, what then? Basically, during all this, maybe after this, before this, I don't know, you get some sort of breakdown about a vortex has entered the equation, and also there's 3 dreams/nightmares that are still out in the world. The Corinthian is still out there killing people, because, why terrify them in their sleep when I can terrify them in real life?
The green...
The green... The new green or something like that, I forget what it's called, but yeah, the green is a well-known Dream who is always very reliable, and he's gone, and they don't know why. And the Galt, or what's her name?
Oh, God, I loved her.
Yeah. There's a nightmare that's missing, and she's a shapeshifter. That's all that matters. So...
Galt.
Yeah, Galt. I was right. I wonder if that's a Who is John Galt reference. Anyways, it shouldn't be. With that said, Dream is, trying to hunt these people down, while also there's a vortex in the world. A dream vortex, as you find out way later. What?
The verdant green?
The verdant green, yeah, that sounds right. The vortex, as you find out later, is a young girl.
Fiddler's green.
Fiddler's green.
I googled it.
Who, doesn't...
Rose.
Named Rose, who doesn't know what she is, but the short version is that as she dreams, she's pulling in other dreams together, she's putting down the walls between dreams, and eventually the walls between dreams and reality. So, you can get into other people's dreams, and also those dreams can come into the real world, and it's going to basically destroy the world. So he's going to have to kill her. But he decides, rather than kill her right away, I'm going to let her roam around because all dreams are drawn towards nexuses, so all the dreams I need to get should go towards her or somehow be involved with her, and then I can kill her after I get all them. So, of course, she's a nice, sweet girl who's just looking for her brother, who has had horrible upbringing in an orphanage. There's, horrible upbringing, lots of bad stuff happening over his life. And she meets this woman named Unity. And Unity says, hey, I was this girl who fell asleep, and while I was asleep, I somehow became pregnant, which implies nefarious things, but as you find out later, isn't in the way you were thinking it is.
It was a miracle conception.
Yeah, she literally meets a man in her dream who she thinks is beautiful, and she basically marries him in her dream, and then she somehow is pregnant in real life. And
turns out it was desire.
Yes, can confirm that did actually happen. So, she
is Rose's great-grandmother.
Yes, and so Rose is like, oh, cool, and Unity's like, I've got a bunch of money, and I'm old. Go get your brother. Let's do this. Mm-hmm. And so she sends Rose to Florida to help find her brother, because her brother's supposed to be down there, and through a cavalcade of coincidences, which is kind of the point of the Vortex, we meet a whole bunch of caricatures, Ken and Barbie and whatnot, and I think, again, they're supposed to maybe be part of the dream, maybe not. It was never clear. I don't remember if that's clearer in the comics. But, and all these people, and they wind up going to the cereal convention. Because the Corinthian, having been out in the world now for over 100 years, has basically inspired serial killers. That's the argument, I think, kind of is that serial killers exist because of the Corinthian. Because normally a dream, like a nightmare, is supposed to be in your dream, making you regret as a mirror on your poor choices and reflections as a terrible person to stop you from continuing to be a terrible person. But instead, he's in the real world, killing innocent people to scare them and emboldening the people who should be scared. So, of course, those are serial killers. So they hold a convention. And
but it's cereal, a bowl of cereal, like Cheerios.
The cereal convention.
I love it so much.
And you see these three guys talking about how the family man or something had to drop out. Oh, that's too bad. Who could we get as our keynote speaker?
Oh my god, the Corinthian.
We'd love to see the Corinthian, because no one knows who he is. He's been doing it for hundreds of years. They assume there's been at least more than one. It's such an honor. And so they mimic his killing style.
And then he finds them.
And he threatens to kill them, but then he figures out what they're doing. He's like, oh yeah, I'd love to be involved with that.
I'll speak there. Can I have a guest?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the Corinthian winds up with Rose, with the goal of maybe killing Rose and becoming Dream or something. I forget the specifics on all that. Or combining the dreams. I don't know. There's a plan. He's a bad guy, though.
Yep.
But he's an interesting bad guy, because what we find out throughout all this is, one, we find Galt. Galt has been in the dreams of Rose's brother as the dispatcher for his superhero lair. She's his Alfred, Oh, the so-and-so has been noticed. And you're not sure what's going on. And what it turns out is that she's, been living in the real world so long, she fled because she no longer wants to be a nightmare. She hates being a nightmare. She wants to make people happy. She doesn't want to make them hurt. And so she spends all this time making this kid happy, and then Dream finds her and goes, nope, you're supposed to be a nightmare, and erases her.
You guys want to tell you that I cried? I'm literally about to cry right now. I cried over Galt because I was like, she wants to be a Dream. That's beautiful. She wants to be better and more than she is. And then Dream it was terrible.
Mm-hmm. And that is the point of Dream in all of this. It's not as well conveyed in the show, I will say that, because the guy just seems more surly than cold. But, Dream is a jerk. He's not a nice person. He is very, ends are all I care about, I needed a nightmare, you're no longer a nightmare. Pop. And so this is also supposed to be his journey. So he erases her. We go on to find that one of the men who's been helping Rose is actually Fiddler's Green. And he goes back to the dream world to say, oh, hey, we need to fix this, we need to do that. There's all this stuff. And it turns out Fiddler's Green is a place, not a person. And so that was kind of a cute little thing. But the big one is, of course, they have to confront the Corinthian. And Dream finally catches him and confronts him and saves the day and yada, yada, yada. But the Corinthian is kind of interesting in that he's also sort of well, I just wanted to live, And he's been doing all this because he wanted to and because he's supposed to and blah, 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 blah. And Dream erases him, too. At that point, he also gives all of the serial killers at the serial convention
A conscience.
Yeah, he literally makes them, he says, your punishment will be, you will become aware of what you are. You have these dreams that you hide what you are, that you're the victim, or that you're powerful, or that you're whatever, but I'm going to let you know exactly what you are.
And then mass suicide.
Not just suicide, some turn themselves in, some, it's unclear, but
I mean,
yeah.
There's a lot of blood and gunshots.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, there's only one gunshot, but...
I feel like there were a couple.
No.
No?
No, I think one walks into the street, one shoots themselves.
Okay, well, suicide.
Yeah,
so.
but I don't think there's actually that many suicides of the ones we see. One turns herself in. I forget what the other one does. Or is he already dead at that point?
I don't know.
can't remember.
But Dream takes the Corinthian and essentially erases him, and then he holds out his hand to the librarian, and it's a skull with teeth for eyes. And he's like, yeah, hold on to this for me.
I'm going to make this better next time.
Yep.
So finally, cut to the end. He's going to kill Rose, and Rose doesn't want to die, and Rose's friend, who had a baby with her ghost dream husband, who's dead. That's a whole other thing. And Unity shows up and goes, the librarian shows up with Unity and goes, this is Unity. She was supposed to be the dream vortex, but because you were trapped, she couldn't be. So Rose gives her vortex powers to Unity, and then Dream kills Unity, who's like 100 and whatever at this point.
Yeah, and she's like, kill me instead. Like,
Yeah.
I want my grandkids to
I want my
live
granddaughter to
and
live.
be together. So...
And so Dream kills her instead and solves the problem. And I thought that's, again, why I like Gaiman as a writer and why I relate Gaiman to folklores and fairy tales. And that the problem was solved and it's a happy ending, but it wasn't just, we magicked the problem away. The problem still had to be solved. Someone had to die. But we found someone who was at the end of their life who was willing to die rather than a young girl who's at the beginning of her life and, just finally found her brother after all these years. So that's pretty much where it ends with the final little bit that I know Liz needs me to mention, which is you see Dream sitting there, like, apologizing to Lucian, who he's been a jerk to, and he releases Galt. And she's got butterfly wings, and she gets to be a Dream now.
I cried so much again!
She ugly cried.
It's so beautiful!
Yeah.
Like, I know it's not real, but I don't care. Like, I still care about these things as if, like, they are real. And it's, it gives me a good life, except for when my favorite characters die, which is all the time. So...
Excuse me. So yeah. That happens, and then that was pretty much the end. There's a lot of setup because we see Lucifer saying, I'm going to give Dream, a gift that will ruin him, basically. Like, I'm going to ruin Dream's life and get revenge, blah, 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 blah.
And then it ends.
Yeah. And then we get the 11th episode, which came out as a bonus. The 11th episode is about the dreams of cats. It turns out cats used to rule the world. We follow a young kitten as they go to a cat meeting of this cat that's going to tell them everything. Cats used to rule the world, but dreams make it possible to reshape the world, and humans dreamed in such a way that now the world always has been ruled by humans instead of cats, because cats used to chase humans, and they were bigger than humans, and it was cat life, and cat life was great. And now that's not the case, so this cat goes around telling all the cats that if we all dream of a world where cats rule again, then we will. That's... Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, she used to have a family, and she had a litter of kittens, and the dad wasn't happy about it, so he put them in a bag and threw them in the river, and so they drowned. You don't really see that very detailed. Like, you see him putting the kittens in a bag, and you see him throwing the bag in the water, and you hear it mewing, and then you see it sink in the water, and that's it. And then they say, like, yeah, obviously the cats died. So, it's not disturbingly graphic, but if animal death upsets you, I would recommend just skipping past that.
Because it's a two-parter, so for the second half, it's all about Calliope.
Well, I feel like it's like 1/4 is the cats and 3/4 is Calliope.
Fine. Obviously, she is a muse who has been kidnapped and used. Yeah, that's rough.
Used.
Yep.
This is another one. Like, you don't see it, but you know it's happening, and it's against her will. So
yeah, and
just be aware for that one too.
for all of that, it's basically about how Calliope used to love Dream, but
They had a kid together.
Yes, and that kid was Orpheus?
Orpheus? Was it Orpheus?
Yeah, I believe. The one who looked backwards while escaping or whatever.
Yeah, trying to get his lover out of hell.
Yeah, and so Dream apparently never forgave her because, again, the show doesn't do quite as good a job as making it clear as the comic, but Dream has been a raging jerk throughout history. Like, he was not an emotional creature, even to the people he loved. Like, he would abandon them the moment that they faltered and showed flaw, you know? So, just like the same sort of Dream who would erase Galt for daring to want to be a dream instead of a nightmare as he intended, this is the same Dream that ditched Calliope forever ago. So I could go into detail, but I think we've gone enough into all of this, but short version touches base with Calliope again and helps get her free because she summons him and or is his name Orpheus and the kid was name? You know what? I don't know. Anyways,
Morpheus is the dad's name.
Yeah, is Dream's name. Yeah, that's right. And so we get a small, like, hey, I've become kind of a better person. And
yeah, like, she even says, like, you're nicer now.
Yeah.
Or, you know, like, this is not how you used to be.
Yeah, because she's like, because he actually kind of, like, admits he could forgive her or whatever, and she's like, oh my god, you're not just immediately, like, we're done here. So yeah, that's pretty much the 11th episode. So, I mean, the show is great. Go watch it. Highly recommend. Or if you've already watched it, you know, tell us what you thought, I guess. I don't know. Or, you know, comment on the cross-stitching. That's cool, too.
Yeah. Hope for the future.
Win for heavenly beasts, huh?
Oh my god. I'm taking a break because my eyes are super messed up, okay? Don't have to be a jerk.
Love you.
Love you more.
No, you don't. So,
you guys, watch Sandman.
Yeah, watch Sandman.
So good.
And that is the end of Hope Day 2. I got 3 hours and 54 minutes of footage. I've changed clothes because David and I went grocery shopping and that dress was way too hot. And now I'm just tired. So I will finish this in day 3 because I just have the back stitching and the beading to do. But it's starting to get dark. So now I'm kind of just like, bleh. And I'm hungry, so yeah, sorry. I don't really have anything else to say, so like, subscribe, share, comment, all the jazz. I'll see you guys next video. I started lifting my hand way too early, but then I just had to stick with it, so. So, I have to remember to put this at the end of the video because this has no relevance to the cross-stitching, but this dress, this pretty dress, it's very soft, belonged to my mom when, that's me, I was that tall. My mom and I are the same height now, and I have no memory of this. This was my aunt's wedding to my uncle, and I don't remember this whatsoever. No, don't do that. That's it. So, yeah, that's my mom in this dress. It's so funny. She showed this picture in a group chat with my sister and I and her, obviously. And I was like, that dress looks familiar. Like, I knew it was my mom's. I remember her giving it to me. So I took a picture of it. She was like, you still have that? And I was like, yeah, I've always loved this dress. Like, pink was my favorite color growing up. And I do like this shade of pink. I think it actually might be perfect. Maybe a little bit paler, but like, it's so pretty. I love it. Oh, hey, the quails are out. Oops. Let's see if I can get my stuff to move. Oh, well, there he goes. There he goes. They come by a lot. I need to work on my Meet the Meeplings video. I started it, I got all of the videos pulled together, and it was 53 minutes long. I did like really, really short intros and outros, like, you know, less than 30 seconds, and it was still 53 minutes. So, and I don't even think I've gotten all the videos. I don't have any from David, and I know he's taken some, so it's gonna be a long video. Granted, it's not only quails. We have a bunch of other animals. And I was like, I'll put all the videos in there. They can see all of the animals in our backyard. Oh my god, that's right. I took an 8-minute video of a hummingbird yesterday. Like, it just landed on one of the branches on the bush directly outside this window. So then I just set my iPad there and hit record. Oh, I'm terrible. It's gonna be so long. I have a feeling that by the time you guys see this, I'll have already put it up, so sorry if you liked it, sorry if you didn't. It's like, sorry if you liked it, because it's not going to be frequent, and sorry if you didn't, because it wasn't cross-stitching, so.